A new USA Today Suffolk University poll reveals President Joe Biden is losing support from key groups who turned out for him in 2020.
I'm not going to answer the question because
the question is Justice, radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe? Who's on your list?
Right. Gentlemen, I think
when people say MAGA, they're actually looking at people voting for Trump, and they think they're voting, and they're basically scapegoating them that you are like him. But I don't think they're voting for Trump because of his family values. Now, if you look, just take a step back, be honest. He was kind of right about NATO, kind of right about immigration. He grew the economy quite well. Tax reform.
People are tired of Joe Biden, U.S. president, just a senile old man. Political commentator Shameka Michelle says Americans have grown tired of Joe Biden as the Democrat Party attempts to sabotage Donald Trump's chances at the 2024 election. I do think that people are tired of Joe Biden, even the people that voted for him, Ms. Michelle said. Gas is too high, food is too high, and people realize he's just a senile old man. Whatever the Democrats try, I don't think is going to work.
And so I don't think it'll work. I do think that people are tired of Joe Biden, even the people that voted for him. So I think that still people will get out and vote. Gas is too high, food is too high, and people realize he's just a senile old man who most of the time don't even know that he's with us. And so whatever the Democrats try, I don't think it's going to work.
Democrats have led a campaign to vote for Nikki Haley in the New Hampshire primary in order to damage Donald Trump's election chances. The different polls all agree President Joe Biden's political standing is lower than Barack Obama's was at this point before his re-election, and even lower than Donald Trump's was a year before his 2020 loss. Last month's national NBC News poll found Biden's approval rating declining to 40%, the lowest mark of his presidency. That compares with Obama's 46% among all adults in December 2011 and Trump's 44% in December 2019, according to past editions of the poll.
New polls show just how challenging 2024 will be, Ron, for President Biden. His approval rating's down to just 40%, and that's among registered voters. His biggest challenge continues to be the economy. 89% of Americans feel very concerned about inflation and fueling calls within Biden's own party for him to step aside. President might also compete with a potential third-party candidate, Joe Manchin.
Unless we push it, nothing will change.
Polls show that Manchin already has 5% support nationally. Not enough to win the White House, but maybe enough to change the outcome of an election.
Yeah, and then you've got that Robert Kennedy at anywhere from 15 to 20%. We're going to also next hour be talking to Shannon Bream about all of this.
The findings are consistent with other national and battleground state polling showing Biden's approval rating in the 30s and 40s. President Joe Biden's approval rating is down. In the most recent poll, 40% approved of Biden's job performance. That's 1 point lower than the previous poll, taken September 15, 2023. Though it's within the margin of error, Biden has a median approval rating of 44.5%. At a similar point in their tenures, Trump, Obama, Bush, and Clinton had median ratings of 40%, 51%, 78%, and 52%, respectively.
The Biden administration might want to roll over, go back to bed, because a new ABC News poll shows only 1/3 of U.S. adults approve of the job President Biden is doing. That is a record low, not just for him, but also for any president over the last 15 years. And yet some Democrats are still brushing it off.
Our poll this morning has Biden's approval rating at 33%. That's historically low for him, low for an incumbent president. It's at 15 years since we see numbers that low.
I think your poll is a bit of an outlier. This battle hasn't even been joined yet. You've got a bunch of Republicans, MAGA Republicans, espousing things that are not good for the American public. Joe Biden has proven that he's the one standing up for working families. He's the one standing up for the rights that people view as fundamental.
What's more, Biden ended the year narrowly trailing Trump in a hypothetical head-to-head matchup in the NBC News poll, albeit within the margin of error, which Obama never did against Mitt Romney in the 2012 election cycle. Other polls also find Biden in a highly competitive 2024 contest with Trump.
From the White House, where this morning, brand new polling from News Nation and Decision Desk HQ not only brings bad news for President Joe Biden, but it also gives us a glimpse into how voters are feeling about a possible rematch between President Biden and former President Trump, as well as how voters feel about the general direction of the country. So take a look at some of these numbers. In a poll of 1,000 registered voters, News Nation and Decision Desk HQ found that 57% of the people disapprove of the job from President Joe Biden. Back in late November, during the last round of polling, the president saw almost the same number. And when asked about the state of the country, 2/3 of the registered voters said they believe the United States to be on the wrong track. So again, this brand new polling in this morning from News Nation and Decision Desk HQ, not only bringing bad news for President Joe Biden, but showing a lot of uncertainty out there, Marky, as we get set for this 2024 election cycle to really heat up even more.
And maybe most concerning of all for Biden, the NBC News poll and other surveys indicate that the Democratic coalition has frayed less than a year before the 2024 general election, with Biden experiencing declining approval ratings not just among independents but also among young voters, Latinos, and even black voters. On every metric, Joe Biden is in a weaker position today than when he won the 2020 election, said Democratic pollster Jeff Horwitz, who co-conducts the NBC News poll with Republican Bill McInturff.
This week, the question became more compelling than ever. Can anything stop the Trump 2024 juggernaut? At the start of last year, Donald Trump's chances of becoming president, according to an average of odds offered by 6 US political betting agencies tracked by Real Clear Politics, was 14%. But Trump is now at unbackable odds to win the Republican presidential nomination again. Those same bookies now give Trump a 41% chance of winning a second term. Next week's New Hampshire primary may be the only possible bump in the road, but he's looking unstoppable, especially after what we saw in Iowa, the biggest victory margin in Iowa caucus history.
The culprits behind Biden's precarious position include inflation and wages not keeping up with prices, concerns about Biden's age. Democrats cannot generate a national majority without a strong showing of younger voters. Democratic pollster Cornell Belcher said, still, these Democratic strategists and others believe Biden's poll slump, as it stands right now, isn't predictive of what might happen in next November's general election. And they pointed to several factors to watch for over the next year that could have impacts on his standing.
They're very concerned about Donald Trump returning to the White House, the chaos and corruption that occurred there. They're very concerned about the Dodge decision and the attack on women's reproductive rights. New Hampshire's a very strong pro-choice state. That's why you're going to see Nikki Haley not do so well as much as she could have because she has a far-right record on the issue of abortion. And overwhelmingly, the independent voters, 40% of the voters here in New Hampshire are independent, could have voted in either primary. And if she had somehow electrified them, been able to connect with them, she could have actually beat Donald Trump here. But her record is solid in the anti-choice side, as you saw with her endorsement today by Asa Hutchinson, also another very strongly anti-choice Republican elected official. So we're not expecting a huge turnout of independents for Nikki Haley, and I think she really missed her opportunity.
With the contest for the Republican presidential nomination now a two-person race, Donald Trump holds a clear lead among New Hampshire voters over Nikki Haley, his last remaining challenger, ahead of Tuesday's primary here, according to a Washington Post Monmouth University poll. The poll finds 52% of potential primary voters supporting Trump, while 34% are backing Haley. In the poll, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is at 8%, but the survey was completed before DeSantis delivered his surprise announcement Sunday that he was suspending his campaign.
We had a very good competitor, Ron, as you know, Ron DeSantis, and he fought hard and he fought well, and now we have one left. We started off with, really, if you add some Democrats into it, we started off with 13, and now we're down to 2 people. And I think one person will be gone probably tomorrow, and the other one will be gone in November.
Haley's support has nearly doubled from 18% in November, appearing to benefit from the withdrawal of former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. But Trump's support has grown by 6 percentage points over the same period. Trump may have benefited from the withdrawal and endorsement of entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy and could gain more with the exit of DeSantis, who immediately endorsed Trump.
We cannot let it continue. We're going down, and we cannot let it continue. Last night, I was honored to receive the endorsement of a man who has become a true leader and earned the admiration of so many patriots. I've been a friend of his, even though we were competing against each other. But I was a friend of his, and we got along. And he was saying he's a great president. I kept saying, why is he running? He keeps calling me a great president. But he's a fantastic guy, a very smart guy. He's got some tremendous ideas, and he's young, and he's got some young ideas, too, and that's a good thing. So he has a big, beautiful, bright future ahead. Vivek Ramaswamy. Come on up, Vivek.
Let's do this, guys. It's good to see you. It's good to be back to New Hampshire. We miss you guys. We're going to make this happen, and you guys know this well. You know this man. You know why we're here. Patriots across the state.
If DeSantis' supporters in the poll are allocated based on their second choice, Trump's support rises by 4 points, while Haley's increases by 2 points. Trump is buoyed by strong support from the party's conservative base, while Haley has been consolidating support among moderates and independent voters who plan to participate in the GOP primary. New Hampshire offers Haley the best opportunity to slow the momentum of the former president. Any independent or unaffiliated voter can participate in the Republican primary on Tuesday, and she has been banking on a big turnout to boost her standing enough to genuinely challenge Trump. But there is little evidence that she has gained significant ground on Trump since her third-place finish in the Iowa caucuses last Monday.
And I love all the attention, fellas. Thank you for that. But when it comes to these corporate people that want to suddenly support us, we'll take it.
I want to go back, though, to Nikki Haley's comment from earlier that she is somehow not responding to the will of these donors. Nikki, you were bankrupt when you left the UN. After you left the UN, you became a military contractor. You actually started joining service on the board of Boeing, whose back you scratched for a very long time, and then gave foreign multinational speeches like Hillary Clinton is. And now you're a multimillionaire. That math does not add up. It adds up to the fact that you are corrupt.
Fact of the matter is, we know from her history, Nikki will cave to those big donors when it counts. And that is not acceptable.
First of all, he's mad because those Wall Street donors used to support him and now they support me.
She said that I have a woman problem. Nikki, I don't have a woman problem. You have a corruption problem. And I think that that's what people need to know. Nikki is corrupt. This is a woman who will send your kids to die so she can buy a bigger house. This is the problem. Using identity politics more effectively than Kamala Harris is a form of intellectual fraud.
Haley, would you like to respond? No. It's not worth my time to respond to him.
Trump's supporters appear more committed to turning out than Haley's do. While Trump leads Haley by 18 points among all potential voters, his advantage grows to 28 points among voters who say they are extremely motivated to vote in the Republican primary. Trump won the primary here 8 years ago with 35% of the vote. Haley's favorability ratings have declined among New Hampshire potential GOP primary voters. 46% of them are favorable of the former UN ambassador, down from 56% in November.
And the latest poll, the morning tracker from Boston Globe, shows her down 22 points in the state. Now, if the margin is that big, it's going to be hard to see how that she can survive through the South Carolina primary. Now, because of the quirk of the schedule, the South Carolina primary is not for a whole other month. And campaigns usually don't end. They run out of money. And it's unclear if she loses by a 20-point margin, how she can go on financially and be competitive in her home state. Now, Nikki Haley's campaign has signaled that they are going to continue on regardless of the result tonight.
Trump has a wide margin over Haley, who served as his UN ambassador, on trust to handle foreign policy, 57% to 32%. Their closest issue is abortion. 40% prefer Trump and 29% prefer Haley. while 22% say they trust both equally. New Hampshire Republican primary voters are relatively more liberal on abortion than Republicans elsewhere. That is a potential opening for Haley, who strongly opposes abortion, but has urged Republicans to find a better way to talk about the issue.
I'm leaning towards Donald Trump.
Okay, and why?
Full disclosure, I'm not crazy about him as a person. Not looking for a husband or a friend, though. Looking for somebody who's going to improve the quality of a majority of Americans' lives financially. I also think that sometimes the nicest person for the job isn't the best person for the job.
So his personality or behavior, you're kind of looking past that?
I am.
Tim Scott, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Governor Doug Burgum in a show of force that the Republican Party is united and ready to take on Joe Biden, Fox News Digital has learned. Trump is set to hold a rally at 9 p.m. in Laconia, New Hampshire, Monday night. Just hours before the state's first-in-the-nation primary, Trump is leading former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley by double digits in recent polling. A Trump campaign official told Fox News Digital that Trump on Monday night will be joined on stage by Scott, RSC, Ramaswamy, and Burgum.
You know, Trey, that's a great question. For me, it really came down to either sitting out or endorsing someone who could lead this nation to the highest level possible, and that was simply Donald Trump. Having an opportunity to work with him from 2017 to 2020, we produced the highest opportunity zones in the nation ever. Opportunity zones actually put more resources in the poorest communities across the country. We cut taxes by $2.3 trillion. It was fantastic to work with the former president in such a way that we produced the kind of results that said to the American people, no matter where you live, no matter the color of your skin, no matter what coast you're on, no matter whether you're in a blue state or a red state, your life is going to be better because Donald Trump was president.
The three former GOP presidential candidates will speak on stage and take part in media interviews. This is designed as a show of force that the party is united and ready to take on Joe Biden, the official told Fox News Digital. The official said that all three VIP guests, former opponents, now endorsers, will be drawing a sharp contrast to Joe Biden in a preview of the general election that is now here. The GOP primary field shrunk down to just Trump and Haley on Sunday after Florida Governor Ron DeSantis suspended his presidential campaign. Trump, who has been leading by massive margins since he announced his candidacy, won the Iowa caucuses on Jan 15. Solidifying his standing as the front-runner.
So based on the first results and our Fox News voter analysis, the Fox News decision desk can now project that former President Donald Trump will win the Iowa caucuses.
He will take the lion's share of the state's 40 delegates. This result really solidifies his place as the current front-runner for the nomination. Former Governor Haley and Governor DeSantis fighting for second. And this is really going to maybe last a while because it's a close race right now, how we see it based on the numbers we're looking at. You know, the former president, overperformed in the rural parts of Iowa, but it has been overwhelming, some of these numbers from these precincts that are already starting to come in. Some of them, and we were just talking, it happens quickly.
It's incredible.
Jesse. I mean, they do it on pieces of paper, they finish it, they hear everybody talk, and it's done.
It's stunning, Jesse. I mean, I was in touch with someone who's at a Des Moines precinct, and she said, you know, they listened to the speeches from all of the representatives of the candidates, and then they voted, and it was over very quickly. Everything that we're seeing is that the former president in Iowa tonight has really swept with all age groups.
In announcing the end of his presidential run, DeSantis put his full support behind Trump, endorsing him as the right candidate for the party. Trump said Sunday that he was honored by DeSantis' endorsement, telling Fox News Digital in an exclusive interview, "I look forward to working together with him to beat Joe Biden, who is the worst and most corrupt president in the history of our country." DeSantis, in endorsing Trump, said it is clear Republican voters want to give Donald Trump another chance.
It's clear to me that a majority of Republican primary voters want to give Donald Trump another chance. He has my endorsement because we can't go back to the old Republican guard of yesteryear, a repackaged form of warmed-over corporatism that Nikki Haley represents.
After peaking early, DeSantis struggled to gain national momentum, with some political experts saying he leaned too much into being like Donald Trump rather than seeking to be an alternative. The question now is how his support for Trump could damage Nikki Haley's campaign. She has invested heavily in New Hampshire, courting the state's independent and moderate voters. There's even been a bid to have Democrats temporarily register as Republicans to vote for her. So a loss on Tuesday could spell the end.
They watched his presidency get stymied by relentless resistance, and they see Democrats using lawfare to this day to attack him, DeSantis said Sunday. While I have had disagreements with Donald Trump, such as on the coronavirus pandemic and his elevation of Dr. Anthony Fauci, Trump is superior to the current incumbent, Joe Biden. That is clear. DeSantis said Trump has his endorsement because we can't go back to the old Republican guard of yesteryear, a repackaged form of warmed-over corporatism that Nikki Haley represents. Trump, who has dubbed DeSantis Ron DeSanctimonious on the campaign trail, says he won't be using that nickname in the future. No, that name has been officially retired, Trump told Fox News Digital.
Well, look, he worked very hard. It's a tough go. And he worked hard. His wife is a terrific woman. They both worked very hard. And he endorsed me. In dropping out, he endorsed me. So I appreciate that very much. And I think we'll do very well. I think we were headed to a very big victory on Tuesday, just like in Iowa. And I think maybe now it even gets to be bigger because most of those people are going to go with me, I suspect.
The bottom line is that Trump is favored in the 2024 presidential race. Biden is clearly not ready for such a competitor who is on everyone's lips and is the hope of the country's future. Comment on this video and don't forget to watch other shocking news on our channel.